Bonjour classe! Aujourd'hui, on va parler au sujet du passé récent. So today we are going to talk about the passé récent, and I have another video that I'm uploading as well, so make sure to check them both out. But this is just a quick short video to just kind of go over the passé récent and how you form it because it includes a new verb that you have not learned before. So, on va commencer. So, c'est quoi le passé récent? In English, the passé récent just means that you came from just doing something. So the passé récent literally means the recent past. So it's something that you've just done within like the last couple minutes or the last couple hours or even to like just today. So the passé récent, it needs three things. There's three steps. You need the verb venir, which the verb venir means to come, like to come from doing something or to come from some place. You need the preposition de, which means of or from. And then lastly, you need an infinitive. If you don't remember, an infinitive is a verb that ends in er, ir, or re. So you need those three steps in order to make the passé récent. So let's talk about the verb venir. So the verb venir means to come and de means of or from. So venir de means to come from. So to conjugate the verb venir, it's an irregular verb just because it doesn't follow the normal ir verb endings. So nous and vous conjugate like normal ir verbs. You take the stem and you drop the ending, you drop the ir, and you add ons and ez. But the rest of them, everything else in that boot, so je, tu, il, elle, on, and il and elle plural, don't conjugate like normal. They have an irregular stem. So the irregular stem is V-I-E-N, and then you add S onto the end for je and tu to make vient. Then for il and elle and on, you add a T, so it's vient. So those first three are all pronounced the same as vient. So je viens, tu viens, il, elle, on vient. Then nous and vous conjugate normally. So nous venons, vous venez. And il and elle plural, you take that irregular stem, so V-I-E-N, you double the N and add on E-N-T, a normal ending. So it's viennent. So je viens, tu viens, il, elle, on vient, nous venons, vous venez, and il, elle viennent. So just make sure that you remember these conjugations. Next, un exemple. So an example of what the passé récent looks like. So we have tu viens de chanter. Tu vas apprendre les leçons français. So the vient de chanter, that is the passé récent. We have our venir conjugated right here. Then we have our preposition de. And then we have our infinitive chanter. So it means you just came from singing and now we said tu vas apprendre les leçons français. You are going to learn the French lesson. So we have the passé récent in this example right here, and then the futur proche right here, which is what we learned earlier. So des exemples, a bunch of examples right here. Je viens de la classe français. That is the present tense. That's not the or that's not the passé récent. So there's no second verb there. So just so you know, you can see venir in just the present, like you came from French class, but that's not the passé récent. You have to have two verbs. You have to have venir and an infinitive in order for it to be the passé récent. So just so you know that. Next, we have tu viens d'étudier. That is the passé récent because we have you came from studying. So we have our venir conjugated here. We have our preposition, and now we have an infinitive. Next, we have Pascal vient des toilettes. So Pascal came from going to the bathroom or came from the bathroom. This is not an example of the passé récent because there is not that second verb. So make sure you know that there has to be two verbs. Et nous venons de l'école. Again, it's not an example of the passé récent because you have to have two verbs. Et vous venez de manger. This is an example because you have that second verb manger. So unless you see a verb that ends in er or ir or re, it's not the passé récent. Et la dernière, the last one, elle vient de nager. The girls just came from swimming. So, elle vient de nager. We have our venir right here, our step one. And then step two is de. And then the third step is nager, your infinitive. So, c'est très facile. It's actually quite simple. You only need those 3 steps. So, those 3 steps, remember, that first one is venir. Then the second one is de. And the third one is to make sure that you have an infinitive. So, Passe Recent review, I'm going to leave the video here, and I would like you to, just on a separate sheet of paper, just for extra practice, conjugate the verb venir in the present tense. Remember, that's step 1. And then step 2, you add de and an infinitive. So you need to make sure that you have step 1, venir, in the present tense. So je viens, tu viens, etc. You add de, and then the third step is to make sure that you have an infinitive. So go through and conjugate these examples, or make sure that you put these examples in the Passe Recent. You should only have to add in 2 things, so step 1 and step 2. You shouldn't have to add in an infinitive, only because the infinitive is already there for you. So, si vous avez des questions, if you have any questions, give me an email, shoot me an email, et à plus, and I'll see you later.